the Three Stooges haircuts. And since then, I've hid the Three Stooges in all of my books. Here they are as physicians, and his anesthesia is a mallet from Neo Leo. Here they are doing roller derby. What's this? Oh, and so now I'm working on this. I'm getting near the end here. My passion project. For probably 7 or 8 years, I've wanted to do a book on Andrew Wyeth, and I finally found one that worked, which is the childhood of Andrew Wyeth, which rarely gets touched on, but is so vital to the work he did later. And so I finally got it approved, and I didn't want to do it without the. I don't have any artwork to show you from it yet, but this is kind of the same idea about how I break things down to kind of see how it's all playing out. This is very recent. But I'll bring up a better image. So I've been going to the locations. I was going to say, I didn't want to do this unless the museum and the Wyeth family were behind it, because it means a lot to me that they are, and they are. They brought it to. I met with Mary Landa, who was Wyeth's assistant for decades. I met her 7 or 8 years ago with one idea, and it just wasn't going to work for several reasons, but she loved this idea and took it to the board of the museum at the Brandywine, and they loved it, gave it the thumbs up. And they've been so generous with their resources and time. They've allowed me to go just hang out at Kerner Farm and paint. This is a plein air one I did at Kerner Farm. Because I don't want to do it in the same style that I did the other books. Those are a little too lighthearted. So I'm trying to find something between this and what I've done. So I'm still working that out. But I've been to all the major locations, and I've seen some archival things and become friends with Victoria Wyeth, and my son's a very good friend with her now. All sorts of things. I'll go into the museum and I'll just make copies of some of his paintings, like this from Roasted Chestnuts. Just to kind of learn from him how he works, and do what I can to incorporate some of these styles into what I'm going to do. Some other ones, this was just a day hanging out by myself on NC Wyeth's front yard. It's just, I don't want the project to end really, but I'm going to have to at some point. So that's that, and then here's Gary and Thomas's dad. I just drew these sketches of them recently as a tribute to them. But I've really been enjoying experimenting in styles unlike what I showed you in the earlier books. And that's that. So I'll stop the share. Oh, well, should I keep it up? Are there any questions, or should I just...
No, you can take it down. We'll have Lisa. Yeah, the last paintings, they almost have like a Wyeth feel for me. But before anybody, Lisa, if you want to go over the etiquette real quick, I apologize for not. Everybody knows Lisa, our co-host.
Yeah.
Okay. Unmute everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. Great job. Great work.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll just do the Zoom etiquette real quick. So as you know, I'm Lisa, one of the co-hosts, and feel free to use the chat feature if you want to leave a comment or ask a question while the artist is speaking. Everybody will be muted. Normally, we wait until all of the artists are finished speaking to unmute everybody at the end, but we're going to do the format a little bit differently this time. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, at the end of each artist's talk, we will unmute everybody for a 5 to 10 minute discussion where we can take 1 to 2 or 3 questions depending on how long the answer is to ask the artist anything. But no problem. And then we'll kind of circle back at the end and talk about artsy and things like that, as Gary had mentioned. So back to you, Gene. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight you and unmute everybody, and feel free to ask a question.
Okay. Anybody? I know I covered a lot.
I think everybody's still muted.
Oh yeah, everybody is still muted.
Go.
The last two books that you were working on, the one that you won an award on, what was it with George Washington Carver? I can't remember who that was.
Yeah.
What medium was that done in?
Oh well, now so this is one that someone else worked on, painted, Frank Morrison, who just won the Caldecott this year, by the way. Not for my book, unfortunately, but for a different one. It's all oils.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
you
was so
authored
proud
that.
of him. He just won the Caldecott.
And you wrote the text. That was
Yeah.
that was your story. Well, that's still impressive. Very impressive. It's very
Thank you.
impressive.
It's a cool story. These were, and by the way, these were the Ali book and the Carver book were brought to me. It wasn't a story that I originated. So when that happens, you know, you hope that you like the subject, and so you start doing your research. And fortunately, I liked both men a lot, but that makes it a lot easier to write when you love the people you're writing about.
I have a question for you, Gene.
Who's that?
Jeff. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I'm just looking for you.
You know, a few years ago, I watched something on TV with about the illustrators who do Family Guy and American Dad, and one of the things they said was that they really wanted, when they do the drawings, they really wanted the spaces to be real, and the spaces the characters were in to be real and believable. And since they said that, I really haven't watched it the same, because it really rang true that the spaces that the characters walk around in is really realistic. And I wonder and that was the most important thing for them. And I wondered what the most important thing was for you when you do your illustrations.
Well, when you say real, do you mean that the backgrounds look real, or that it just because
the spaces they're in are real believable to the viewer? And when I watch
not stylistically, but believable as in they exist in a place that feels right to them.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Right. Okay.
So that was most important to them. So what's most important to you when you start an illustration?
Most important thing is that I'm communicating my idea properly, because the work I do is all about communicating ideas. Because if it's not going to do that, you know, that's the work doesn't exist as well if it's not in a book. It's made to enhance a story and communicate ideas. So I try to lay things out so that the action is clear and it's not cluttered. It's pleasing to the eye, of course. You know, I have to remember who my viewers are. And so I'm always trying to keep that in mind. Even when I'm writing, I have to remember who's reading this and what is it about these sentences that will connect with them and make them want to turn the page. So yeah, I think communicating the information most. I try to do it in a way that's really interesting, and I try and creative as I can be without it. You know, I can't move into like fine artist territory, or no, I shouldn't say that. I can't get too abstract, because then it just distracts from the story. They have to complement each other. One can't take all the attention away. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that's
You know, that's interesting to me about you saying you can't get too abstract. I teach a pretty intense color course at Pratt, and it's actually a color and design course. And I'm always telling my students, like, what's the story behind whatever it is that you're trying to do? And we do a lot of sort of, it's like how to think of the space or the light or just like the colors, like what would represent whatever it is that you're trying to say. And it's all kind of abstract formal elements.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard for them to kind of get past just like drawing a person. You know? And I'm really struck with your work about how you really so well have connected the more abstract formal elements to support what the story is. You know, how clear, like even if I didn't read the story and the words, I feel like I would sort of know what's going on. Because
That's perfect, because that's, to add to what I was going to say, that's another thing. I try to look at it like a silent film almost, you know? I'm glad you pick up on that.
yeah, you know, it's like, you know, you said you want to be consistent by having the crowd like all monochrome, but that's like puts them behind. You know, it's like it's a really clear statement of where the focus is, and just the kinds of colors that you're using, or just the shapes that you're coming up with for the characters. It's like you can tell, like, this is a nice guy, this is a quick-witted, you know, it's like just by the shapes that you come, and that's all abstraction. But you know, at the service of your content, and
Right.
you know, that's what's so hard for my students to figure out. So,
Okay.
you know, and so, you know, it's really
I don't
nice
even
to
know
see.
if I'm conscious of it some of the time, you know? I just do what feels right or looks right to me in the moment. And of course, you know, this is collaborative. I'm always exchanging ideas with either my editor or art directors too. So it's unlike the work you guys do where it's your idea and nobody else touches it. I've had to learn over the years how to be diplomatic and how to find positive collaboration. And I've been really lucky that way. I've worked with the same editor on 90% of my books. And it's great having a relationship like that in an industry where jobs turn over a lot. You know, that's a whole other skill to doing this kind of stuff professionally, is being a pleasure to work with and collaborate and learn the value of collaboration. Yeah.
So we have time for 1 to 2 other questions. It looks like there's a
Hi,
there's a
Haley.
question from the chat from Joanna. Hi, Gene. Do you look at images when you paint your characters? In other words, do you Google a moose when you paint a moose? Really amazing. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, well, I have, for sure, I'll do a lot of searching for reference material. But because, as you see, I'm not trying to duplicate anything. I at least just go there to make sure I know where the horns are on the head, or, you know, if the duck has a beak or whatever it is, a bill. But I'll always do that just to make sure I'm not missing anything. I've been doing stuff actually for the Brandywine River Museum. I do these live doodle sessions for their younger patrons, and we'll do this fun exercise where they send me in during the course of the week a list of animals, and then on these, and you can see these on their website, by the way. We're starting with the first Fridays. This Sunday we're starting up again, but and then I'll do an animash where I take features from all the different animals and mash them up into some weird surreal creature. But I always have to go first look online and make sure I know what some of these animals are that they recommend, like a pangolin I'd never heard of. I just did for this week. Okay. Anybody else?
Um,
Really
well, thank you. They also put you in a museum, a children's museum, right? Oh yeah,
There's-
okay.
The Mazda Museum is in,
Cool.
it's in, I forget the name of the town in Ohio. It's, I think, either the largest or the second largest museum in the world for children's book illustration. And so it's an honor. They've got 4 of my paintings in there, and I've gone there to speak. They usually buy one and then you donate one. So I've got 4 in there, which is such an honor. So another one of those things that kind of happen, or you get asked to do, that you never expect to happen. My books are in different languages, including Braille, which is really cool. Like the pages are made with
And
Braille overlays.
How many have you done total?
Books.
1 minute warning.
Yeah.
Sure.
written-
I've illustrated between like 30 and 35, and that includes some books that are just maybe 8-10 pages that go right into schools, and then ones that you can buy anywhere. And I've written 3 for other illustrators, and I've written and illustrated. I'm working on number 10. So
Wow.
So I've been doing, like, it's been like 20, 21 years or so. It's been a while.